Morning, my friends. Now, here's something earth shattering, mind blowing. And I have to start it off going, hey guys, you know how my whole thing is like, what's real creativity and what isn't, and talent and skill, and the Holy Spirit, and getting to know yourself. And I tell you that all of this started this journey when I was a kid and I heard the nothing new under the sun teaching. And it's the teacher ranting and raving about how nothing's new. And that's how I learn the repeat, that how history really repeats. You know, people say that, but nothing new under the sun is bringing it to me in this dark, dark way. And it started me on a mission of, well, then, how do you not read the script? How do you not do the repeat? How do you do original things in a nothing new under the sun world? And look at what I've been teaching you guys this entire time. It's from the book of Ecclesiastes, which I have no clue that it's from that. This is from me when I was a kid, but I've been teaching you some of the most valuable things that we can learn here as people. This was kind of my whole life's mission after stumbling across this, so let's have some fun.
Sometimes in the middle of an ordinary day, something strange happens.
You know, this is a big deal of, you know how I use the analogy of the Epstein files, but I'll use any analogy to portray the same exact thing, that people don't actually know what truth is. They think it's when I finally get this thing. You know what a long journey all of this has been to discover the actual truths of happiness, to discover the actual truths of these things. This has been, I can only imagine. I've been doing this my whole life. It's been very hard to do it myself. But what a crash course for everyone else.
Sometimes in the middle of an ordinary day, something strange happens. You might be stuck in traffic, standing in an elevator, or brushing your teeth, and suddenly, without fully understanding why, you feel that something is off. It's not exactly pain. It's not exactly sadness. It's something quieter, heavier, like a kind of tiredness that isn't in your muscles but deep inside your chest, a kind of emptiness that doesn't hurt but still feels like it's pressing down on you. It's as if your very existence is slightly misaligned, like a chair with one...
See, I'm excited to get the Epstein files. I'm excited to figure out that it was all fake and real in a different way. Just like all these type of scriptures and all that type of stuff. But you know what creates this loneliness, this longing, this vertigo? I guess the word is vertigo.
Short leg that never quite sits flat. You feel it, but you don't talk about it. Nobody talks about it. Everyone seems too busy pretending they're okay. Too busy trying to make life work. Too busy holding everything together and not losing their minds. But behind the silence, behind the jokes, the goals, the daily stories online, there's a question that almost no one says out loud. What if none of this really means anything? What if we're just stacking up days like some...
Of course it doesn't mean anything in the perception that we will naturally have and the perception life. I don't know how to explain it. I could explain it as if you're a Gen Xer and you grew up watching TV, the TV's going to program you to climb the ladder of life. The successful, ladder of life. And that is us looking for our Epstein files. And I'm finally going to be content. I'm finally going to be so happy when I get the house. I'm going to be so happy when I get the car. I'm finally going to be happy when I take a vacation, and I think I'm taking a vacation from myself, but I bring my miserable fucking self with me. And one day when I just climb that ladder, one day when I do that thing, I'll finally have the answers. I'll finally be content. I'll finally be happy.
Someone trying to stack air. This video is not a collection of answers. It's a risk.
Oh man, it's a risky ad.
Because today, we're going to open one of the darkest and most honest books in the entire Bible, Ecclesiastes. This book is so brutally sincere that for some, it almost sounds like heresy. It was written by a man who had everything and still couldn't carry the weight of having everything. Think about that. Wisdom, wealth, pleasure, fame. The kind of life that today would look flawless on social media. It would be a polished feed, a TED Talk, a best-selling biography. But in the end, this man said, "Vanity of vanities, everything is vanity." Or in the original Hebrew,
he you know what he said? He said, "My empire of dirt, you can," and that was the solution.
hevel, smoke, vapor. Something that looks solid but slips through your fingers the moment you try to hold it. Have you ever felt that? Gotten what you wanted, and yet something bitter still lingered? Looked at someone you love and quietly wondered how long they'll still be here? Reached a big goal only to realize it didn't change the hollow feeling inside? Ecclesiastes isn't a manual, it's a mirror, and it might just be the cruelest one of all, because it doesn't show us how to win at life. It shows us that no one does. Not the righteous, not the wicked, not the wise, not the fool. We all end up in the same dust. But here's the twist. This book, this strange, dark, almost uncomfortable book, might also be one of the most liberating. Yes, everything is vanity. But maybe that's why living now matters so much. There are moments when you stop listening to music without even realizing why. You open Spotify, stare at the screen, and press nothing. It's not that you don't have time. It's not that you don't like the songs anymore. It's that at some invisible point, life lost its soundtrack. It doesn't sound dramatic, but it is. Because when pleasure turns into noise, when beauty loses its flavor, when everything new starts feeling too much like...
Alan Watts would put it as when the martinis start tasting like cough medicine.
Everything old, something in you has quietly died. It's the exhaustion of too much. And it doesn't strike like a hammer. It rusts like old iron. Slowly, quietly, until you can't ignore it anymore. The author of Ecclesiastes lived through this long before us. Not because of poverty, but because of abundance. And that changes everything. He writes,
Now also look at how the simpleton wouldn't even comprehend the depth of any of this. A simpleton would take all of this as, you mean anti-materialism like religion is supposed to be? I'm supposed to hate it. It's like the farthest thing away from that. So just realize your whole life, you've been mistold these stories. We've not really comprehended what they are, because the simpleton would absolutely have no more depth. And this is so far beyond that. This is understanding that you hone your skills in life, but you're not climbing a ladder of success where one day you're going to finally be happy. Of course, the happiness comes through you. It comes through knowing you. It comes through getting in contact with yourself. It's living through what is actually original. And how can we ever know what is original in a nothing new under the sun world where everyone's reading a script and everything's repeating?
Because of abundance. And that changes everything. He writes, I built houses for myself, planted vineyards, made gardens, gathered wealth, owned servants, collected treasures, surrounded myself with pleasures. Everything my eyes desired, I did not deny them. This is not the confession of a monk. It's the last journal entry of a lucid hedonist, someone who tasted everything the world could offer.
Oh my God, we got Simi Valley? That's where I live. We got sit and sleep here now? We can sit and sleep?
And still found
On
himself
Erringer?
empty. And in the end, he says, "Behold, it was all vanity, a chasing after the wind." Today, psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, a concept showing how every pleasure or achievement eventually fades.
No, it's not a concept. See, when we took it out of the Bible and put it into, what do people think about it? Oh, well, people think it's an opinion. It's a concept. No, it's like an eternal law. It's like a law here, right here. It's showing you your destiny. If you follow this path, this will be what you become. It's not a thing of, there's this concept out here. No, there's cause and effect.
Hedonic treadmill, a concept showing how every pleasure or achievement eventually fades, and we return to the same starting point of desire. One more promotion.
But think of it as the Epstein files. Think of it as, when I finally get the, because everyone goes on their witch hunt their whole entire life. It might even turn into, I need to get the house, I need to get the car, I need to get the thing. But the overwhelming thing is, once I get the Epstein files, I'll finally be happy and I'll be content, and all my answers, my questions will be answered. I'll finally be fucking happy. You owe me you gotta give me that truth so I can finally be content. You know how much learning it actually takes to overcome? When I finally get the Epstein files, I'll finally be happy. When I finally get the thing, this is like so deep. All of our stories, like, this shouldn't be vague in any way. Like, while this is being talked about, of course, the man who acquired everything didn't acquire happiness. You know, it's people like Elon Musk. You know who's the best example? Donald Trump. Donald Trump figured out, wait a minute, I acquired all the money and all the toys, and it did make me happy doing The Apprentice. It did make me happy doing all these things, but I still have this missing thing, this Dennis God hole. You remember Sunny in Philadelphia, Dennis and his God hole? And Donald Trump figured out, wait a minute, you dedicate your life to going down as a great man in history by being a public servant, and actually, and that will fill my God hole. And that's a way to fill your God hole right there, is to figure out, wait a minute, you know how many people do that? You know how many people would acquire billions of dollars and then just wish that they were Asmongold because they were looking for an audience. They were looking for somebody to listen to them. They thought that all the money would do that. That's why somebody like Elon Musk buys X and then turns it into his vocal platform, because he realizes, oh, wait a minute, I thought all the money would do that for me. But it wasn't the money that does that. This is such a incredibly difficult thing here to get to see. I'm excited for the Epstein files, but I know what completes me as a human being. So it's different for me. There's nothing that the Epstein files complete me. And I think that I'm finally getting the truth. And you've been holding the truth from me, and you got to give me the Epstein files. Yeah, they're going to be amazing. It's going to be like these scriptures, like I said. It's going to be completely different than what we thought it was. It was all lies, all fabrication, and it was different than what we thought it was.
Turn to the same starting point of desire. One more promotion, one more body, one more like, and then nothing. The writer David Foster Wallace saw this pattern.
How could anybody ever figure out the solution to this when they hate themselves? How could anybody ever figure out the solution to this while they have a shadow closet and they have no clue of how they lie to themselves and hide it from themselves, and they're the opposite of themselves? And going along with all of this, you probably wonder how it all fits together. How does the creativity, talent, skill, getting to know yourself, the Holy Spirit, how does all of this fit together, and what is the purpose and what does it do? Because this is your destiny without it.
2. He said, everybody worships something. The only choice is what to worship. And almost everything you worship will eat you alive. And we are being eaten alive.
I worship the Holy Spirit within Jesus Christ in the tabernacle as I hone my creativity, talent, and skill and do original things through myself.
We live in a time where pleasure is everywhere, but meaning is scarce. Porn is one click away, but intimacy has become a fear. Food is fast, but eating has become guilt. Entertainment is infinite, but minds are bored. Desire has turned into an algorithm. The heart has become a product.
You know, I could only imagine what it's like for all the other YouTubers to make videos. To make the videos that I make where I'm truly excited and inspired requires all of these things. Like other YouTubers, they don't enjoy what they do. They burn out. They make videos on YouTube burnout. I don't burn out. It's impossible for me to burn out. It's all new all the time. Like, I couldn't imagine being the other YouTubers and they look outside themselves for ideas. They have no idea what their next YouTube video is going to be. They use everything. Oh, what's my next idea? And it's got to be money making, and it's got to have a clickbait title. And I just actually 100% could never burn out and 100% enjoy what I'm doing. And I would never have to look outside myself to make a video because I have too much to say. And I can infinitely make videos through myself. I don't need to look outside myself and search for a video and what's the title and what's this. Like, it's an abundance. It's this rushing river that never runs dry.
Desire has turned into an algorithm. The heart has become a product. Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote that life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. But the man in Ecclesiastes saw something even worse. That between pain and boredom, there's a fake relief, a dried up pleasure, a quiet anesthesia that hides the absurdity of everything.
Yeah, this is all Groundhog's Day, guys. This is all a life of reading the script and believing you're climbing the ladder of success. And this is the story of what the world was turning us into.
Here's the point where, if this were a typical video, I'd give you a solution, a 5-step escape plan, a how to fix your life moment. But doing that would be dishonest, because the harshest truth is there is no easy escape from saturation. When everything is possible, nothing has weight. When everything is within reach, nothing feels like a true conquest. That's why the narrator of Ecclesiastes matters so much today. He isn't depressed. He's awake. He climbed to the top and realized there was no sky there.
He went all the way up to Shit Mountain and said everything that he ever wanted to say, and then realized how fucking anticlimactic all of it is.
Milan Kundera once wrote, "Vertigo is not the fear of falling, it's the desire to fall." And maybe that's what we feel sometimes. Not fear of losing everything, but a strange, dark curiosity to see if losing everything might finally wake something up inside us. This chapter doesn't end with comfort. It ends with a quiet, uncomfortable noise, like the silence of a song that used to be your favorite, but doesn't play anymore. The spoon touched the plate. She said, "God has a purpose for everything." It was a funeral. Her father had just died at 49 from an aggressive cancer. Nobody knew what to say, so everyone just nodded, as if faith was the same as acceptance. But deep down, she didn't believe what she said. She was only repeating a sentence she had heard 1,000 times, the kind of line that comes out when words can't keep up with pain. Inside, what she really wanted to ask was the question almost no one dares to speak.
It's time to ask more of our browser. Hey, Copilot, adjust all these recipes for 7 guests and combine them into...
Where was God when everything fell apart? The brutal truth is that the Bible holds that question too. It's not hidden, it's right there in Ecclesiastes. With much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. It's the verse most sermons skip, but it's there, raw and unfiltered. The more you understand life, the more unbearable it becomes. The wise suffer not because they're weak, but because they're awake. Ecclesiastes was written by someone who knew God, not just by hearing about him, but by speaking with him. The text is often attributed to Solomon, the man who asked for wisdom instead of power. And what he saw through that wisdom was a broken world, a God who doesn't answer, a time that doesn't explain, a justice that fails again and again. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard called this the anguish of faith, that moment when believing stops being comforting and starts being terrifying. Believing without guarantees, loving without return, trusting the sacred when the world only shows ruins. And that's why many people don't abandon faith because of reason. They abandon it because of trauma. When pain is real, no abstract idea can comfort you. C.S. Lewis, mourning his wife, once wrote, "Go to God when your need is desperate. What you find is a door slammed in your face and the sound of bolts being drawn on the inside." He didn't stop believing. He just stopped pretending that faith is the same thing as comfort. Simone Weil went even further. To her, God's absence isn't proof against him. It's his deepest language. Love that doesn't force itself. Silence that respects our pain. The sacred stepping back so it doesn't manipulate us. That's hard to accept because we've been taught to treat God like a spiritual insurance plan. If you pay with prayers and good deeds...
And through that is why, like somebody like Bill Nye, the atheist, all of them, they come to the conclusion that God is a man with an ego like theirs because they want to manipulate God. They want to blame and manipulate, slander, blackmail, extort, humiliate, the same thing that they've done their whole lives to everyone else. Is when you see somebody force God into a man, and you need to prove God the man to me, and it better be God the man. There's all of this behind it.
Sacred stepping back so it doesn't manipulate us. That's hard to accept because we've been taught to treat...
Wouldn't that be really hard to accept for Bill Nye, who demands that God is a man with an ego so that Bill Nye thinks that he's going to debate God? Bill Nye thinks that he's going to humiliate, slander, blackmail, extort. Wouldn't it be real hard for Bill Nye to figure this out? Because his whole life mission is God is a man with an ego, and I'm going to get him.
Love that doesn't force itself. Silence that respects our pain. The sacred stepping back so it doesn't manipulate us. That's hard to accept because we've been taught to treat God like a spiritual insurance plan. If you pay with prayers and good deeds, he will fix things. But Ecclesiastes tears that contract apart. The writer watches the righteous suffer and the wicked prosper. The fool laughs and the wise die just the same. He asks, what's the point of all this, if even God seems incoherent? And here lies something few dare to say out loud. Maybe mature faith isn't about understanding God, but about enduring him, enduring the silence, enduring the contradictions, believing not because everything makes sense, but because without something beyond us, everything becomes unbearable. Ruben Alves once said, "Faith is not a light that removes all darkness. It's a lamp that lights only one step at a time." That's exactly what Ecclesiastes...
Isn't this hardcore? That I went into this by myself as a child. I don't even know how I learned it or whatever, because it's not like I sat there and read it. I don't know how I even did this when I was a kid, and this was so profound to me. This set me on a whole life's mission of what's really original. Because when it gets to the ranting and the raving of the nothing new under the sun, it doesn't answer the question. It's one of the teachings that it takes an entire lifetime to learn what it means.
Ecclesiastes does. No promises of happy endings, no revelations that explain everything, Just a man looking at the heavens, seeing them closed, and still choosing to keep going, to keep speaking, to keep existing.
Because what I got out of this was, oh my God, it's all Groundhog's Day. It's all, everything is repeating to the point of absolute misery. Everyone reading the script, everyone, and how do you break this spell? And nothing's original and nothing new under the sun, and it's just all repeat, and you can't escape it. So then how do you escape it? How do you do original things in a nothing new under the sun world? Because that's what the solution actually is.
Maybe that's what faith really is. Staying even when the signal is gone. Walking even when the ground isn't there. Living even when God is silent. But Ecclesiastes whispers the opposite. It looks us straight in the eye and says, "You're not in control. You never were." There is a time for everything under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. People often read this verse like a comforting poem. It isn't. It's a list of everything we can't control. It's not about picking the right moment. It's about accepting that the moment picks you. We live in a culture that disguises randomness with spreadsheets.
Yeah, and this was the first teachings of you have no control over anything else, for me to learn about Buddhism later on to go, wait a minute, the whole entire thing of Buddhism is how you don't have control over anything.
We love telling ourselves that everything can be achieved through discipline, intelligence, and hard work. But that's a pretty lie dressed like a motivational speech. The truth is closer to what Baruch Spinoza said. Men think themselves free because they are conscious of their actions, but they are ignorant of the causes by which they are determined. You think you decided, but maybe you just obeyed something you don't fully understand. A fear, a wound, a trauma, an algorithm. And time, this polite, relentless tyrant, keeps moving forward, without asking, without permission. You can be young and die tomorrow. You can eat healthy and still have a stroke. You can do everything right and still be crushed by randomness. Daniel Kahneman showed this clearly. Most of our future predictions are cognitive illusions. Our brains hate uncertainty, so they invent stories of control, even if those stories are lies, especially if they are lies. Ecclesiastes destroys all of that with one sentence: time and chance happen to them all. Meritocracy can't survive this verse. Self-help collapses here. Your 5-year plan turns into superstition. But, and this part matters, the book doesn't preach fatalism. It doesn't say, give up. It says, know the limits of your control. You can plant the seed, but you can't decide if it will rain. You can love, but you can't force someone to love you back. You can live well, but you can't escape death. Clarice Lispector once wrote,
you could decide, okay, well, all of this is making me think that I should live in the now. Yeah, because in comparison, my 5-year plan is just turned into superstition. So by using logic and reason, I come out to the conclusion that, okay, well, then it means I should live in the now. That doesn't solve the problem of you think you're going to go on vacation from yourself, but you bring your miserable self with you. So what are we going to do about your miserable self? And what are we going to do about my miserable self?
Is made of days that mean nothing.
It's the script reading that is like this dark cloud over our head.
And moments that mean everything, and none of them can be scheduled. Control is a comforting myth, and maybe letting go of it, not from apathy but from awareness, is the moment life becomes real, not a project. Ecclesiastes doesn't teach this with rage, it teaches it with a strange, tender brutality. Like someone looking at you gently and saying, you control nothing, but you can still be fully...
You know how difficult it is to understand what's being said here? Because the word control is being used but it's to come to this place of where you understand and you wholeheartedly, because you get these things, you've learned this, you know it, and you go, oh, the freedom is my empire of dirt, you can have it all.
At you gently and saying, you control nothing, but you can still be fully here.
You know how hard it is to come to figure out that that's what control actually, that's what it really means. It means to give up your empire of dirt. But do you know what your empire of dirt is to give up? You've watched movies on it. You've heard stories. You've seen over 100 movies on it. People's life story, your life story, everyone's. You've heard so many scripts read on it. Do you know what it is for real?
Gently and saying,
Do you know what it is to give up your empire of dirt for what it really means to do that, to say it, to live it?
Control nothing, but you can still be fully here. Most religions are built on a promise.
Do you know what it is to give up your empire of dirt? Is to store your treasures in heaven, where they don't get moth-eaten. And
if you're good, things will make sense. If you follow the rules, there will be order. If you pray hard enough, the pain will mean something. But Ecclesiastes looks straight at that promise and says,
an agile supply team already by your side.
it looks right at it and is absolutely realistic. Absolutely fucking. Oh, the commercials are killing me here, Larry.
And more time, enjoy.
No. It doesn't deny God. It doesn't glorify rebellion. It simply reveals what people don't want to hear, that the world is absurd even with God in it.
Yeah, we're being honest.
Vanity of vanities, vanity. This isn't the voice of an atheist. It's the voice of a believer who saw...
Choking on this cigar over here, man. This thing tastes like fucking mud. And I love it. It is so incredibly disgustingly good.
All is vanity. This isn't the voice of an atheist. It's the voice of a believer who saw too much. He prayed, built, ruled, and watched everything collapse like sandcastles.
You probably wonder why I'm not all like how you would think I am. Because I'm not the dude that learned too much. Just like with music, I didn't ruin my own creativity by gaining an ear like Rick Beato. This is so important. If you ever wonder why I am, well, it's because I'm neurodivergent and I'm stuck between the ages of like 7 and 11 or something like that. I'm a fucking child over here. But at the same time, as I'm not capable of being over the age of 11 years old and shit, no, I didn't ruin it.
This isn't the voice.
We don't learn too much here at the mystery school. We learn to use life as a mirror itself. We learn to live life. We learn how to watch a movie and learn from it. We learn to be a participant in life is different than reading a bunch of books. Then you make it like your life is separate from the books that you read. And it's about doing it all at the same time. We use life, we're living life, we're doing life, we're reflecting on life. You are the truth, and your reflection reveals it to you.
The voice of an atheist. It's the voice of a believer who saw too much. He prayed, built, ruled, and watched everything collapse like sandcastles at the edge of time.
Yep. Why are we not concerned with the fine details? Why do we not sit there and research everything and go through those details and really get down there? And because we're learning. We're learning, but we're not learning too much. We're not learning the things that lead to this madness. This is the madness where Carl Jung, at the end of his journey, ended up at this madness. All the philosophers and everyone ends up at this madness. So how are we going to do all of this and not end in the madness?
Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. This isn't the voice of an atheist. It's the voice of a believer who saw too much. He prayed, built, ruled, and watched everything collapse like sandcastles at the edge of time. This is not a story of a man losing faith. It's the story of a man losing illusions. That's a different kind of fall.
He arrived at my empire of dirt.
More silent, more honest. Friedrich Nietzsche called this kind of clarity the great noon, that moment when shadows disappear and the world is seen as it is, without a mask. No rewards, no cosmic fairness, just what is. And here is the paradox. This is where real freedom begins, not in believing that the universe owes you something, but in walking through it with open eyes, stripped of guarantees. When Albert Camus wrote about the absurd, he didn't offer solutions. He said the only honest response to an absurd world is to live it consciously. One must imagine Sisyphus happy, not because the rock will ever stay at the top of the hill, but because meaning isn't found in results. It's found in defiance, in the quiet act of pushing even when nothing makes sense. Ecclesiastes lives in that space too. It doesn't sugarcoat the void. It looks at it and drinks it slowly.
Isn't it? I'm going to say it again. Isn't it fucking hardcore? I got a hold of this as a child, and it sparked the whole mystery school. Everything that I show you is about this. Right here, I relentlessly talk about this.
Bitter wine. The writer says there's nothing new under the sun. Empires rise, empires fall. Generations are born, generations are forgotten. Everything repeats. People think this is a statement of despair. It isn't. It's a cure for arrogance. It breaks the fever of self-importance. You are not the center. I am not the center. Humanity is not the center. We are a brief echo in a vast corridor. And yet, there's a strange peace in that. Blaise Pascal once wrote, "Man is but a reed, the weakest in nature, but he is a thinking reed. Our fragility is not a flaw. It's the ground on which..."
And I came out to the conclusion that it's about living as an original human being. It's storing your treasures in heaven, living through yourself. Easier said than done. We have this shadow closet that people don't even know exists. They don't know how they lie to themselves and hide it. They're the opposite of who they believe they are while they think that they're not doing that. They're Humpty Dumpty that fell off the wall that lies to themselves and goes, "No, I'm completely fine." And they're self-loathers. They're manipulators, backstabbers that believe, no, I'm one of the nicest, most kind people that ever fucking is. So how are we going to do this?
Consciousness blooms. Knowing we're temporary doesn't have to paralyze us. It can wake us up. When nothing is guaranteed, every breath becomes a small rebellion against the void. That's why Ecclesiastes says, "Eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart." It's not hedonism, it's clarity. It's not saying nothing matters. It's saying if nothing is guaranteed, then every small moment matters more than anything. The sunset, the laughter, the hand you hold, knowing it will one day vanish. This is not the shallow optimism of motivational speeches. It's the brutal joy of the lucid. Franz Kafka once said, "Even in the darkest of nights, I will keep walking. Not because I believe the light will come."
Oh my God, we get another ad. It's an ad-packed video.
But because the darkness itself demands it. That's what faith looks like when all the decorations are stripped away. Not certainty, not reward, just the raw act of existing fully, even when the sky is silent. Clarice Lispector said it too, in her own way. "I live without knowing why, but I live." This isn't nihilism, it's maturity. It's standing at the edge of meaning and realizing that the abyss isn't your enemy, it's your witness. It watches everything pass, including you. And still, you breathe. Still, you walk. Still, you live. Some people will call this surrender. It isn't. It's revolt without shouting. It's what Albert Camus called the gentle indifference of the world. The world doesn't care, and that can either break you or free you. Ecclesiastes stands with the free. It teaches you how to live in the ruins without needing them to become a temple, how to hold the fragile.
My empire of
Ecclesiastes
dirt.
stands with the free. It teaches you how to live in the ruins without needing them to become a temple, how to hold the fragile without demanding it last forever, how to love without pretending it's immortal. In a world obsessed with meaning, maybe the bravest thing you can do is live without guarantees. Not because nothing matters, but because everything does. Ecclesiastes is not a book for the innocent. It's for those who have already lost something, those who've seen the inside of hospitals at 3 a.m., those who've buried dreams and stood in the rain without metaphors. It doesn't offer comfort, because comfort belongs to those who still believe that life is fair. What it offers is a mirror, a reflection of how small we are and how real that smallness can be. For the fate of the sons of men and the fate of beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath. Ecclesiastes 3:19. That verse isn't poetic. It's a punch in the chest. Humans spend entire lives building towers of meaning, pretending they're more than animals, pretending that live forever in some glorious continuation. But the earth swallows kings and beggars the same way. The wind doesn't remember names. History forgets faster than we like to think. And yet, this isn't a call to despair. It's a stripping away of illusions. When you stop pretending that life is a story about you, you finally see it for what it is, a brief, raw, uncontrollable movement of time. Arthur Schopenhauer said, "We are like lambs playing in a field while the butcher sharpens his knife out of sight." That's not cynicism, that's honesty. And honesty hurts because it cuts through the performance we've built to protect ourselves. Religion, ideology, nationalism, love, even ambition, they're all fragile masks against the great silence. Emile Cioran once wrote, "We are all deep in a hell, each moment of which is a miracle." He wasn't glorifying pain. He was exposing the paradox
It's a tragic kingdom.
of existence, how suffering and wonder live side by side, inseparable. That's why Ecclesiastes doesn't give a solution. It gives a language to those who can't pray anymore, to those who've been betrayed by certainty. It allows you to say what others silence, that maybe the world doesn't make sense, that maybe justice won't come, that maybe meaning isn't waiting behind the curtain. But something happens when you stop running from that silence. It doesn't destroy you. It makes you sharper, quieter, aware. You stop expecting the sky to explain itself. You stop begging the universe for fairness. You begin to live without contracts. That's where a strange kind of strength is born. Not the strength of the hero who conquers, the strength of the witness who endures. Carl Jung called this holding the tension of the opposites. To see the beauty and the horror, the light and the void, the prayer and the silence, without picking a side, without needing resolution. That's spiritual adulthood. That's what Ecclesiastes points to. Life is not a story with a clear ending. It's a series of breaths between arrival and disappearance. And in between, you get fragments. A laugh, a wound, a sunrise, a goodbye. That's it. That's everything. Albert Camus understood this when he said,
And when I go outside and ride my bike around this beautiful town, everything is brand new and wondrous to me. I want to make videos on how beautiful the gutter is, all the trees, all the bushes. Never seen anything like it, saying it like Donald Trump.
"In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. not because the world changed, but because he stopped asking it to. Faith that survives this fire is different. It's not based on answers. It's built on silence, doubt, and the fragile decision to stay, to breathe.
Whether you're a
Oh my
contractor
God.
or a master technician,
It's like
or
no,
prefer to
there's no
understand
video that
your
has
job
more
depends
ads.
upon both.
To see, even when nothing is promised. That is where Ecclesiastes ends, not with a triumphant revelation, but with a whisper. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. It's not the fear of punishment, it's reverence for something bigger than explanation, something you don't control, something that doesn't need to explain itself to you. That line isn't submission, it's humility, the kind that isn't forced, the kind that comes when your illusions have burned away, and what remains is only the silence and the quiet,
Yeah,
almost
this is the walking through the fire. It's brutal.
imperceptible pulse of being alive. The last lines of Ecclesiastes don't shout. They don't offer a miracle or a new prophecy. They simply stand
So
there like a
take you to the lowest of your lows. Burn up your snakeskin, sloughing it off, throwing it in the fire.
stone in the desert.
Yeah, it's gonna be dark.
Cold, silent, unmovable. Fear God and keep his commandments, for God will bring every deed into judgment. Ecclesiastes 12:13-14. Most people read that as a warning. It isn't. It's a reminder you are not the center. Your understanding is not the axis of the universe. There's something beyond you that doesn't bend to your questions. This is not the faith of those who need constant comfort. It's the faith of those who have walked through darkness and stopped expecting light to be soft. It's not about answers. It's about reverence in the absence of clarity. Soren Kierkegaard called this the leap of faith. Not because faith is irrational, but because it exists beyond reason's ability to control the world. It's what happens when your mind has run out of explanations and your soul refuses to collapse. It's the quiet act of standing when nothing holds you up. Fyodor Dostoevsky once wrote, "To love life more than its meaning." That is the core of this strange, unsettling book. Ecclesiastes doesn't hand you meaning. It forces you to confront its absence, then decide whether you'll keep breathing anyway. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid this confrontation. They drown themselves in distractions, in noise, in the endless chase for significance. They build small empires of self-importance, hoping time will forget to erase them. But time forgets everyone. The wise, the foolish, the kind, the cruel. All end the same way. Dust returning to dust. Once you stop fighting that truth, something unexpected happens. Not despair, freedom. Not numbness, clarity. When you know everything is temporary, you stop treating the temporary like it's eternal. You stop living like the world owes you explanations. And you start living like someone who knows they will be forgotten and loves anyway. Marcus Aurelius, facing that same truth centuries later, wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten everything, soon everything will have forgotten you." He didn't write this in despair, he wrote it as liberation. To be small is not a curse, it's a truth. To be forgotten is not a tragedy. It's the condition of everything that breathes. In a world where empires fall and stars burn out, your existence is both meaningless and miraculous. You don't need to prove your worth to the void. You don't need to control what cannot be controlled. You are a passing flame, and that is enough. Emile Cioran called this the dignity of disappearance. To accept the ending without rage. To live without needing the world to remember your name. To breathe as if each second is both nothing and everything. This is what Ecclesiastes offers. Not comfort, not certainty, but a kind of brutal peace. The peace of those who have looked at the abyss and stopped begging it to speak. The peace of those who can hold the silence without needing it to turn into a song. This is where faith and nihilism touch. Not in slogans, but in the quiet space where you understand that the world doesn't owe you meaning, and you live anyway. You walk, you love, you break, you rebuild, you die, and the wind moves on, indifferent and infinite. That's not a tragedy. It's the structure of everything. To live with that knowledge isn't to give up. It's to live awake. To stand naked before the vastness and whisper, not to be heard, but because you are still here.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. That was so good. Oh, I didn't even know it was over. That was so good. So,
Like someone
much loved, everyone. Hope you have the greatest day. Hope you enjoyed this. Because, yeah, it's the most beautiful awakening. And I can't believe I came across this as a child and it turned into my whole life's mission. All this stuff about being original and creative and knowing yourself and living through yourself, using the world as a mirror. And the other way is we think that we're climbing a ladder, the stairway to heaven. Well, that's a different thing. The ladder of success gets confused. And yeah, this is what it all was. So much love to everyone.